One day of Vegas just wouldn't cut it. I'm Nick St. Dennis, editor of USGNN.com. We're back at the BEC conference at the Paris, and around here, it's all about the glass. Day two of BEC got started with an industry update from Apogee CEO Joseph Pushes, who shed plenty of optimism. One interesting thing he talked about was the large crop of retrofit projects to be had. The amount of glass in new construction, he said, is equal to 1% of the glass in existing buildings. Quote, yet we all fight over the 1%. US glass publisher Deborah Levy has more on her blog. Check it out. But for now, let's switch gears. Glass engineer James O'Callaghan of Eckersley & O'Callaghan was center stage talking about the evolution of structural glazing and where it's headed. O'Callaghan, responsible for much of the well-known Apple glass architecture around the world, spoke exclusively to USGNN afterward.
I think certainly the one thing I'd want people to take away is that there's a point to innovating and pushing and thinking about stretching those boundaries, whatever your boundaries are, stretching them a little bit over time rather than settling for what you already do or what you already have. So whether that's a fabricator, an installer, an engineer or whatever, it's that level of curiosity about what happens if you take it and move the dial a little bit is what I would hope, because I think that's what generally pushes things forward. I think, you know, a lot of the thin glass technology for sure is where there's a lot of energy right now. That's where we're spending a lot of our energy in research and also in new projects. That's got a very interesting development in that the industry is not familiar with it, and people are still unsure about how to use it, and whilst you can be very creative with it, there's still a lot of work to do to get examples of it out into the built environment. And I think as soon as that happens and people start to see its potential, there'll be a whole new area of construction flowing from that.
We then caught up with Chris Dolan of Guardian to get perspective from a glass manufacturer's side on what O'Callaghan's team is up to.
What was so interesting is the innovation that's going on in the fabrication area with the size of the lights and the fittings. I mean, he's really stretching the envelope, and some of the examples he showed stretch the envelope, so to speak, in glass fabrication, and there's tremendous innovation there. From Guardian's side, we're innovating with glass and coatings. He was talking about innovation in fabrication. One of the key things is how do you marry those two things together, because more glass, you're going to need higher performance glass as well. So I think it's just a really interesting, exciting concept.
Later in the day, we caught up with Tom Culp of Birch Point Consulting, who gave the group of attendees an update on the codes.
We're used to talking about U factors and solar heat gain coefficients and how that affects product choice. But really, one thing that's new that's coming up in the energy codes is a focus on the installation and the interface between the window and the wall. And there's going to be new requirements about attention to the detailing, both for the air barrier commissioning, but also the creation of thermal bridges where the window meets the wall. And there's, I guess, the message and a lot of questions, especially with the installers and glazing contractors, is there's going to be a lot more attention to those detailing. And they're already doing that, but it's going to increase in coming years.
Former pro baseball player Jim Abbott, who is known for overcoming much adversity throughout his career, closed out the second day with a keynote that had everyone in the room tuned in. I had a chance to speak with Jim one-on-one, and I'll have more on that on my blog in the coming days. Also, be sure to check in on USGNN.com for more from our interview with James O'Callaghan. That'll wrap it up for now. I'm Nick St. Dennis. Stay tuned for more upcoming coverage of BEC, which concludes Tuesday. We'll see you then.